Welcome to Classics You Slept Through. We're the book podcast where we read and discuss classic books. I'm your host, Kyle Davis, along with a girl who still uses email religiously, my sister, Meredith. How's it going tonight, Mer?
It's great. I had a ton of emails today, deleted a bunch, and felt good.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to bury the lead, but you know who else has an email? We do.
We do.
We do. The mailbag is open. So we got a very nice email this week from a listener named Savannah. And she says she's been listening since July of 2021. Can you believe that?
Yes, girl.
I know, right? She's 24 years old, and she's trying to get her younger niece into the podcast. She works at a pizza place, and listening to us lets her zone out while she's making pizzas. I don't know if that's like an indictment of our podcast or a positive, but I'm going to take it as a positive.
She's under 25 and uses email.
Yes.
That's what we've been searching for.
Yes. So she says she collects books and has been wanting to get into the classics. Feels like that she misses some of the humor from some of these books. So she really appreciates the discussion that we bring to it. And yes, she says now we can say, we can't say, I suppose, that no one under 21 or 25 uses email or doesn't listen to us because she's under 25, uses email, and listens to the podcast.
I think I'm in love with Savannah.
There you go. Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Savannah, for the email. We much appreciate it. And if you too would like to send us an email, whether you're under 25 or over 25, it doesn't matter. Just show us you know how to use email. You can send it cystpod@gmail.com. You can also hit us up. May as well do the whole thing now. Hit us up on our socials.
Yeah.
cystpod, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're all over the net showing you all this cool stuff about these cool books. You can also get us over on YouTube. We can see all these beautiful discussion episodes as we talk about these books, or you can just listen to the books. Just search for Classics You Slept Through over on YouTube. And, why don't you head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating review or a star review over on Spotify.
I feel like the best thing about YouTube, let me just say this. The best thing about YouTube is you get to see whether or not Kyle looks like a homeless person.
A drug dealer. I got drug dealer the other week.
You got drug dealer because one day you were in a bathrobe in the kitchen and you used to, sometimes you show up in a beanie with unkempt hair.
The hair is more kempt now, I suppose.
Yeah, you had to get it cut.
I
feel like my hair right now is more like yours. Oh, I thought you were doing it because you wanted to get a legit job.
Well, that's kind of that's the ultimate goal, but
Sign, everywhere.
Exactly right.
Cut your hair.
Anyway, we also, speaking of YouTube, we did get a nice YouTube comment this week as well from Hayden, who said that he's listening to Call of the Wild for a school assignment.
Nice.
And he has trouble focusing, and so listening to us read it helps him get through the book better. So, I know that's 2 in a week. It's our egos we're not gonna be able to fit through the door. Our heads are gonna be so big now.
Let me just tell you, I just read Call of the Wild again with my coworkers. We read it out loud. That book is so good.
Did you not just put the podcast on and say, call it a day? You actually read it aloud?
Yeah, well, because at work, it's the beauty of my job. During meetings, sometimes we read a book aloud and we pass it like you and I do with the breaks or whatever. It was just so good. I was in tears when John Thornton dies, and I was like, I knew it was going to happen. I was like, Buck, stop messing with that moose. You better go back and find John. He's in trouble.
The Wild, it had called to him. It's too late.
I know. The way he messed with that moose. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to go back to the very first.
All the way back.
2020.
Yes.
You may not want to revisit 2020 for a lot of reasons, but this is one reason you might want to revisit 2020 is to listen to us read The Call of the Wild.
Yes.
It is such a good book.
That was our first book, and it brings up a good point. I have not... We've not put out an index episode in a while. I think the last time we did, we only had 6 books or something like that. So this week I will record an index episode telling you which books we have read and which episodes you can find it at. I mean, if you could obviously scroll through your podcast feed or Spotify, or if you're on YouTube, they are in handy playlists. They are easy to find there.
Oh, you don't say.
They are. But if you're interested, I'll do up a index episode this week, so that way you can hear a little bit about each of the books and why you should listen to them. But the book we are talking about today, we are finishing off Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. We have gotten through, it's a very short book, only 10 chapters. We read the first 5 for the first part, and now we're reading chapters 6 through 10. And I think this is, I don't think we have to hide our feelings on this one. I think this was pretty delightful.
Oh, it's so delightful.
It's such a nice book.
And as I was reading it this week for I don't know what number of times, because we did the live reading last week,
right?
For Reddit, chapter 6 and 7. But I just feel like this book, and we'll probably talk about this in the wrap, but this book is not just silly kids' tales. Like, I read lots of books to my kid, and there's plenty of silly kids' tales that don't have some sort of depth. I feel like this has depth for days.
I think so too.
I do.
Yeah. It's a very mature kids' book.
It
All
is.
different characters.
Well,
which I don't think you realize as a child until you read these characters as an adult, and you see the adultness of all of these. But again, you're right. We can get to that in the wrap.
Yeah, but I think you make a good point, and they're not. I don't think it's adultness, but I think children have depth, and adults overlook that. And I think this is very much A.A. Milne captures that essence, that depth, that struggle or striving for understanding of the world as kids see it through the characters. And there is depth there, whether maybe it's accidental, accidental depth.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they're saying, but there's some sort of like intuition about what's going on in the book, and it leads them to comment in such a way. Anyway, that's very vague at this point, but
sure, yeah.
Let's talk about the specific sections that we were reading.
Sure. All right, so let's get into it. So we start off with chapter 6, which is Eeyore has a birthday and gets 2 presents. And I think this chapter, highly, highly relatable chapter. So we start off, Eeyore is a little sad. Apparently it is his birthday, and yet no one has remembered it. And honestly, if that's not a feeling that almost anyone can relate to at some point in your life, be it a birthday, or you have, a bit of news you'd like to celebrate, and no one quite knows it but you, and so you try to get your friends to be the same level excited as you are, and it just doesn't quite work out.
Did he tell anyone it was his birthday?
I don't know.
Are they supposed to know?
So he does it very passive-aggressively. Pooh is just sort of walking along and sees him, that he's sad, and Pooh asks him, Eeyore, what's the matter? And he said, oh, well, it's my birthday and no one's remembered. And Pooh says, well, is it your birthday, Eeyore? I didn't realize. And Eeyore just says, sure, it's my birthday. Look at all my presents and cake.
I thought that was hilarious.
This dude is just laying it on. So, he shames Pooh completely. And so he decides, and once again, Eeyore being very passive aggressive with, come on, man, very sarcastic. Look at the presents and cake. Pooh decides, I have to give Eeyore a present. So he runs home, and again, this is, imagine you don't remember a friend's birthday or something. He says he has to get some present, and he can think of a proper one later. So Pooh's scrambling around the house, just finding anything he can grab that is an appropriate gift for Eeyore.
This makes me think of a great SNL skit / music video where they talk about, I think it's called like Peach Candle. and they talk about how like every woman has like a random candle that's been given to them and they haven't used it, and then they randomly give it to someone else, and it's like that one peach candle. It's like you just pass it off to people at Christmas parties, and it's everybody has one, and it's great. You just pull it out of your purse, like, I got you this candle.
It's a perfectly regiftable gift. Exactly.
It's a wonderful. Everyone look it up. Peach candle, Saturday Night Live.
So this one really resonated with me. I'm gonna tell a little story here. Yeah, so I worked in the Middle East for many years, and one of the first things you learn in dealing with Middle Eastern cultures is you don't ever directly compliment anything. Right? Because if you walk into someone's home and you say, "Oh, this painting is so beautiful," they will immediately try to give it to you. Right?
Oh, that's a cool trick, though, if you want it.
Well, I suppose. Deep down, they don't want to give it to you, right? But they feel socially obligated. They have to at that point. So you always compliment it, like, "I love the way you have decorated," or, "I love the way this picture looks in your house," or something like that. Well, anyway, gift giving is such a thing. I had when we were first going through Arabic, we had a professor who was very Middle Eastern. Some of our professors were more Americanized. They'd been here longer or been, just kind of adapted to the culture more. And then we had some who were just very still steeped in Middle Eastern culture. And we went after class one day to his office for some asking questions about something. I don't know, whatever we were doing.
When you say we, you mean you and
your
wife?
Susan and I. Yeah, because we were both in class together. And we chatted with him for a while, and as we're about to leave, he goes into this frantic, like, needing to give us something. I don't know, for whatever reason, he liked us. We were his favorite students. I don't know, something. He grabs from his desk, he had, and I still have it to this day, he grabbed this little stone archway that you would put in a fish tank, like a fish tank toy that he had as a desk decoration for some odd reason.
For this reason. This is the reason.
Apparently. So now for the past 14 years, I've carried around this fish toy from an aquarium that I was given by one of my Arabic professors.
That's awesome.
Just for some random, yeah. Anyway, so that's my relation here to Pooh just grabbing something from his house to give to Eeyore on his birthday. You're just looking around.
That counts.
Yeah, you just grab something.
Oh man, I love that story. That is so sweet. I don't know who this person is, but I love them.
We'll have to post a picture on Instagram this week of my fish toy. So anyway, Pooh decides he's going to give him some honey, right? But on his way home to find this honey, he meets up with Piglet. And we get a great scene where Piglet is standing there at Pooh's door, and Pooh's like, "Piglet, what's the matter?" He's like, "Oh, I'm knocking and nobody's letting me in." And Pooh's like, well, let me knock. Not realizing it's his own house.
Oh, classic.
Exactly. So then we get in, and Pooh grabs a jar of honey. He's like, "Oh, I've got jars of honey. I can give him a jar of honey." At which point, another very relatable thing. Piglet is very chagrined. He does not have a gift. And he says, "Oh, hey, Pooh, that jar of honey, can it just be from both of us? It's a joint gift, you and me, right?" And
I love it. It's a running gag of this whole story.
It is. This is.
I love it.
Theme in the chapter. Pooh's like, no. This is my gift. You get your own, buddy. So, they decide they're going. Pooh decides to... So Piglet runs off to get his own gift. Pooh is going to take this pot of honey to Eeyore. Pooh, in his very Pooh fashion, gets hungry, begins to eat the honey, ends up finishing it, and then decides, well, I can give him this pot. It's a nice pot. Looks good. You can put things in it. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a good pot.
It's a container. So then we get into a little vignette where Pooh says, well, I can't just give him a pot that says honey on it. If there's no honey in it, it really should say, like, happy birthday. So he goes over to Owl, who apparently is the only one who can write. We quickly find out that that Owl cannot write, nor can Pooh read.
Well,
so
he can write, he can't spell.
He can't spell, true.
Yeah.
He can't. So, Owl writes a big long message. Pooh's happy with it. And meanwhile, Piglet's getting a balloon. I have to say, I was a little disappointed with this. I was really hoping that the balloon that Piglet was going to give to Eeyore was going to be the green balloon. If you remember way back in chapter 1, when Pooh wanted to fly up into the tree, he asked Piglet for a balloon, and he had a blue and a green one.
Yes.
And he said, well, I'll take the blue one
to be part of the sky.
I was hoping the green balloon was going to show up, but it didn't. He gets him a red balloon.
Yeah, it was some mention of a random party.
Yes,
what party?
They have a lot of parties off screen in this, and they're with balloons, and it gets into a whole thing of what's the 100-acre wood economy here? Like, where's the balloon factory? Who's baking these pots? Who's potting the honey? Anyway, so Piglet is in his haste. He's running with this balloon. He falls. He bursts it. And he decides, you know what? I can still give Eeyore this balloon. It's just a
boy.
wet rag of rubber, but gosh darn it, I can give them the balloon.
It's so wet because of the spit inside when you blow it up. Is that why it's so wet?
I was wondering. Like I have done a lot of balloons in my time. I've never had a burst one described as a wet rag before.
No.
Maybe don't we have like latex? Aren't the balloons latex nowadays? Maybe there was something different back in the 1920s. I don't
Cotton?
know.
Like
cotton? Cotton. I think that would inflate very well. Well, anyway, so the boys get to Eeyore. Pooh gives him his pot, and Piglet gives him his balloon, and Eeyore is over the moon. He loves it because he has this pot. He can put things in. He puts the balloon in it. He takes it out. He is just super happy. Fantastic.
That brought me to tears. I swear to God.
That Eeyore was
like
so
just
beautiful.
He was like, look, like watch. And he made them feel better about their horrible presence on his birthday. He's like, I take it out. I put it in. I take it out. It in. And he's like, when he gets the many happy returns of the day, he's like, me? You mean me?
Yeah.
Like, my birthday. And Piglet's like, yeah, man, yeah. And he's like, me having a real birthday. Yeah. And it's great. Say it in my good ear. Wait, tell you my other ear.
So Piglet's kind of a jerk because he makes Eeyore think that he remembered, but it's only because he was over at Pooh's house. So I don't know. Piglet, kind of a jerk move there, Piglet.
He just doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be left out. Piglet also thinks everybody else knew.
This is true.
Nobody knew.
This is true. It's Eeyore. Nobody cares. Come on.
Oh, I care.
So then we end the chapter with a fourth wall break. The real Christopher Robin talking to, I suppose, AA as the narrator.
His dad.
Yeah, he wonders. He says, "Well, wait, what did I give Eeyore?" And then he suddenly, oh, I remember now. I gave him some paints, didn't I? Yes, because you were getting a party ready for him. And so I guess we got a happy ending that Eeyore gets his party and cake, despite his bad presents from his friends.
I love the fourth wall break of the parent of A.A. Milne being like, you gave him a little, and the kid just is like, I gave him this. It's like,
that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
You did. I love it. I love it. I feel like it's such a realistic, like if you're being playful with your kid and you're really letting that world exist, it's a really good representation of that dynamic.
Right. So one more thing I have for chapter 6. We have a nice song in this chapter. Pooh, when he can't think of things, he just decides to sing Coddleston Pie. It kind of helps him out, helps him think. And I'll put it in the show notes, but the Muppet Show did a Coddleston Pie skit back in the late 70s, which is wonderful. If you guys aren't Muppet fans, Jim Henson was a beautiful genius. Just so sweet. Awesome stuff. But I'll put it in the show notes so you can see Rolf singing Cuddleston Pie as Pooh does.
It'll be much better than my version of sort of half singing it in the... I apologize.
Or the live read that we did, which you can see on Reddit.
Which I sort of half sang.
I half sang that one.
All right. So at least we're in this together.
Yeah.
Rolf is much better.
Anything else on 6?
No, I just think it's a lovely chapter. I think they're lovely chapters. Nice. Except the kidnapping one.
This is, seriously. So we kind of had two Eeyore chapters that ended when he found his tail, and now he sort of gets a happy ending. He's happy by the end of these chapters. I think Eeyore kind of takes a real heel turn as we get into these later chapters, but we'll get there. So that takes us to chapter 7, which you're right, is sort of the disturbing chapter in this book. It's kind of weird and sort of comes out of nowhere. So this one, Kanga and Roo come to the forest, and the rest of the chapter, Piglet has a bath. So this one starts out, Kanga and Roo are just in the forest, and everyone is sort of wondering why they're here. So we got a little distrust of foreigners, I think, showing up in a 100-acre wood.
In the real world, outside of Christopher Robin's imagination and his dad's imagination, these are just Christopher Robin's toys, right? So he must have gotten a new toy of a kangaroo and her baby, and then other toys are like, where the F did she come from?
It's a little Toy Story action here, a little Buzz Lightyear popping up.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So we find out that they came in the usual way, which I suppose would be getting purchased. Sure. But anyway, Pooh is very upset by this, so he goes off to see Piglet and Rabbit, or he goes to see Piglet and Rabbit is there as well. And we start to find some very interesting things about Rabbit, which I love, which I did not know because I don't think they ever bring this up in Disney at all. I could be wrong. But Rabbit has the friends and relations. So many. He has 17 in his family. And I love, because he's talking about, needing a pocket for each one, like, because Roo is in a pocket. He's like, well, if I had a pocket for each member of my family, I'd need 17 pockets. Well, 18, because I need a handkerchief too. And as he's continuing, Pooh just kind of says, 15. And Rabbit's like, what? He's like, I only count 15 in your family. And Rabbit's like, I don't know, man. Whatever. Like, he doesn't.
I'm an effing rabbit.
He doesn't know. He doesn't care. That's fine. But anyway, they want Kanga and Roo to leave. So Rabbit comes up with a brilliant plan. Let's kidnap Roo. And then Kanga will be so freaked out, we can blackmail her into, hey, if you want your kid back, you leave the forest. Which, that's kind of vicious and brutal.
Terrible.
Right. Piglet's very concerned because he's heard that Kangas are fierce animals, and he doesn't want to mess with them.
Right, but only in the winter is how he is relieved of this fear.
Right.
The winter months, they're fierce.
But is that British winter or Australian winter? Because they're different.
They are different.
So maybe they're always fierce because it's always
winter wherever they
somewhere, right? And apparently kangaroos are quite vicious animals. Like they're nasty. Like they will jack you up.
I've seen a video or two of a kangaroo like beating up a dog. And
yeah. Do you know why they are on the Australian crest? Other than being like very abundant in Australia, but I mean there's tons of weird animals. So there's two animals on the Australian crest. There's a kangaroo, and I can't remember what the other one is. But they're the only animals that can't walk backwards, so they can't like back down from a fight. So so it's like tough Australians.
So the second animal also can't walk backwards?
Yeah, apparently. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but it's a kangaroo and some other animal.
Well, we have to look up the Australian flag.
Well, there you go. Well, it's not the flag; it's their crest.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like the national crest or whatever.
Australian crest.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, let's see. It's like an emu?
Yeah, it could be something like that. It's like a bird thing. Yeah. Or an ostrich. I don't know. Something like that.
An emu and a kangaroo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Apparently, neither animal can go backwards, so they don't back down from a fight.
All right. I like this picture of the Australian crest. Let's see. I like how the emu has its. I can't see it actually. Hold on. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. We'll have to.
It has
better.
its like foot up on the crest.
Yeah,
And the kangaroo's holding it.
There you go. Support.
I like
the
it.
state. Yeah.
Straight up from Wiki. So
There you go. All right, so Rabbit comes up with this plan. He says, you know what? Let's distract her. Piglet, you're about the size of Roo. I'll grab him and run, and then we'll shove you in Kanga's pouch, which kind of seems like some kind of violating her personal space. I don't know. And then we'll get out of there, and she won't figure it out for a while. So Pooh has the job. He's supposed to distract Kanga. So he tries talking to her and telling her some poems, but I guess Kanga is quite uncultured. She's like, whatever. Or she's just a busy mom. She's just always worried about Roo. So she's not listening. She doesn't care. But eventually, they're pointing. They're doing the "Hey, what's that over there?" trick.
there's a bird.
There's a bird. Is that a bird? And she gets to turn her head finally. So Piglet jumps into her pouch, and Rabbit grabs Roo, and he gets out of Dodge. Now, she's not stupid. She immediately says, where did Rabbit go? And Piglet. And Pooh's like, oh, Rabbit had somewhere to be. And she's like, well, Piglet's gone too. Ah, yeah, he suddenly had somewhere to be too. Not suspicious at all. So she's like, all right, let's get out of here. And she leaves. Piglet gets, sort of Mr. Toad's wild ride on the ride home in Kanga's pouch.
All bounced around.
Exactly. She gets home and discovers it's Piglet, and she freaks out for a second, but then she's like, oh, come on. This I thought was very interesting in sort of the cosmology or the religion, perhaps, of the 100-Acre Wood. She sees Piglet, and she's freaked out. Where's my kid? And then she goes, oh, you know what? Rue's going to be fine, because Christopher Robin will take care of it.
That made me feel really emotional too.
Really?
That was lovely.
Oh.
Yeah, it did. Because Christopher Robin is like this, like you use religion or cosmology.
Yeah, he's like a godlike figure in the wood.
Yeah. And if you're thinking kid who's playing with his stuffed animals and dad is making a story up at bedtime about the stuffed animals and the kid or whatever, then of course. And that's lovely to think that these animals are like, I feel totally safe. I'm absolutely, everything is fine. Even though my child has just been kidnapped from me, from these neighbors I haven't quite met yet. Exactly. But Christopher Robin would never let anything bad happen.
Right.
I think it's lovely.
It is. Well, anyway, so Kanga, being the sly animal that she is, she decides to play along and just start messing with Roo. She's like, you know what? Hey, I think you need a bath, pal. Dumps Piglet in the bath. He's a pig now. He doesn't like baths. He's freaking out. She's soaping him up, and she's like, you got to keep your mouth closed, man. I'm going to get soap in your mouth. And just straight up shoves soap in his mouth. Then...
Jerk.
Exactly.
Such a jerk move.
Well, then she gets him out of the bath and says, okay, it's time for your medicine, which rightfully so, Piglet's like a little freaked out. Like, I don't want you to be taking whatever you're going to give me here. And I think at this point, this just shows, like, I think Kanga is probably the coldest character. Like, she is just savage. Because because she says you have to take your medicine because you want to grow up big and strong, not small and weak like Piglet, who she's literally talking to. That cuts deep.
Really? Because he was part of a consensual plan. He agreed to kidnap her kid so that she would get the F out of the 100-Acre Wood. So I don't think she's as savage. I think she's dealing it back plenty.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that came off very nice. But anyway, then Christopher Robin comes over. He's kind of sussed out what's going on. Because he's like, hey, I think he saw Roo over at Rabbit's or something, and so he sort of figured out something was up. And he keeps playing along because he says, I haven't seen Piglet. That's not Piglet, because Piglet's usually dirty, and this kid here is all nice and clean. So let's just call him Henry Poodle.
One of Pooh's relations.
I guess.
No, I shall call Poodle Henry Poodle for short.
Yeah, for short. Yeah.
For short.
And while they're talking about all this, Kanga just straight up shoves the medicine in Rue's mouth. Like, he was not expecting it. Which
I mean, imagine someone stole one of your children. Well, maybe not the last one, but
they're gonna have them. No, they can't. No, they can't.
Since you tell him that he's going to be taken away by his true alien parents anyway.
He should have been. Well, he's here. He's figured it out. He knows he's mine.
And I'm sure he's all the better for it.
Probably not. I'm sure the aliens could have raised him better. I don't know. But anyway, so then Piglet gets out of Dodge. He goes home. And the nice thing is that after this, they sort of all become friends. Rue continues his play dates over at Rabbit's. Piglet and Kanga hang out. Everybody's cool after this. So they just sort of needed this traumatic experience to meet the neighbors and bring it all together. So
you know how we were gonna kidnapped your kid, right? Well, we did that, but it turns out I like him.
Right, he's cool.
We're cool, right?
Stockholm
I didn't realize
syndrome.
I liked him.
Yeah, in the 100-acre wood.
Oh, jeez.
So I guess the moral of the story is when neighbors move into your neighborhood, you kidnap their children,
Right.
and then they'll come looking, and then I guess you have them over for barbecue, and that's how you meet the neighbors.
You can be friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's great.
and if they don't have kids, dog or whatever, their
Whatever.
pet.
Spouse, sure. Yeah, little light kidnapping. So that gets us up to Chapter 8, where Christopher Robin leads an expedition over to the North Pole. And Pooh starts off, he's kind of chilling. He's making up a song about his life, which basically boils down to he eats honey. So he's a very uncomplicated bear. He sees Christopher Robin, who's wearing his big boots, which means it's adventure time. So then he helps Christopher Robin get his boots on because poor little guy can't get him on. So he does the Forrest Gump. I put my back against you. You put your back against me.
Yeah, because they're friends. It's what friends do.
They do. So then he says, we're going to take an expedition, he likes to call it. And it means everybody's in a long line, and we go. So they all sort of kind of get up together. We get another sort of example of this, the deification of Christopher Robin, if you will, where Piglet says, he wants to go, but he's really scared of fierce animals. But you know what? If Christopher Robin's here, I'm not worried. So it's fine, because he'll take care of it.
I don't think deification. Maybe, no. Maybe caretaker, parental, like he's like their little dad, he's like playing house with these little kids, or not little kids, I'm sorry, not little kids, stuffed animals,
right? Like
your kid might be afraid, but if you're like, no, it's safe, take my hand, we'll go, they'll probably
they trust you. That's true. This is true. So all of our characters kind of get together and they start going in a line, including the grouped, conglomerate character of Rabbit's friends and relations. They all trail along behind Eeyore at the end.
Not just his relations, though. I think it's strange that it's his friends.
It's friends.
Like there's hedgehogs.
Well, they're the collective. Yeah, it's collective friends and relations. Yeah.
Yeah. What? He doesn't even know who they all are. It must be like his relations, friends of friends of friends.
It must be. They're all just like, Rabbit's doing something. Let's go check it out. And I love how I've always had this problem with children's media, but he is a rabbit and his name is Rabbit. So do the rest of the rabbits? No, because as we find out, they get to a dangerous place and they go down the line, hush, 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 everybody be quiet. And the hush, the hey, be quiet, gets all the way to the end of the line, to the point where everybody in the line is yelling at the last kid in the line, who freaks out and runs away and never comes back, goes to live with his aunt. And his name was Alexander Beetle. So, okay, sure.
Was he a beetle?
I think he was a rabbit in the book. I thought the illustration was a book.
His name was Alexander Beetle.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Christopher Robin thinks that this dangerous place, it could be an ambush. So they kind of debate what that is. And then they decide, always a smart thing to do when you're going on a long trip, is, hey, let's eat everything that we brought so that way we don't have to carry the weight.
Right. Eat it right now.
Eat it right
immediately.
Away. Of course, Pooh's fine about that. Then we get an interesting scene where instead of, you would think Pooh being kind of the protagonist sort of animal in this, but no, Christopher Robin, he pulls Rabbit aside and he's like, yo, Rabbit, what? The North Pole, man, you remember what it looks like? And Rabbit's like, I did, remind me, what's it? And he's like, I don't remember either, man. So the two of them are kind of like, as the, Rabbit's kind of the planned, schemy guy, that they sort of figure that out.
Rabbit seems like he is, like you said, planned, schemy guy. Like Owl is supposed to be the smart guy, but it's really Rabbit that they often default to make some sort of...
Well, Owl's the smart guy. He's the professor. He's like the high-minded, whereas Rabbit's like, he's your guy that gets stuff done. Smart guy. He's the street smart guy.
He's gonna like draw you a map and show you where to go, where Owl is like gonna tell you the history of the locations,
yes.
And you could choose them on your own, very Socratically or whatever. Exactly. But Rabbit is like, okay, I got it.
Well, then Roo takes a dip. He falls into the water because he's been bouncing around doing Roo things, and he's very proud of himself that he's quote unquote swimming, but he's really just sort of floating down the river.
Drowning. He's drowning.
He's drowning. Everybody's freaking out. Eeyore says, I'll get him. And he drops his tail into the water, long past where Roo's been.
It just sits there.
Very, very unhelpful. So Roo continues down the river. Kanga and Pooh eventually they get in front of him, and they find a big pole that they can stretch across the river. They do so, rescue Roo, and suddenly, look, Pooh, you have found the North Pole. This is the North Pole. So they plant it in the ground. Christopher Robin makes a sign saying that Pooh found it, and everyone is happy. End of
North
chapter.
Pole, discovered
North
by
Pole.
Pooh.
They found it.
Pooh found it.
Found by him. Yeah, so I thought 8 was fun. Anything, any more you want to add on 8?
I like that Christopher Robin's always trying to lift Pooh up. He's like, I'm a bear of very little brain and not very smart. And he's like, you're the best bear in the whole world. And he just loves him so much. Yeah. And then he attributes it to this finding of the pole to Pooh, and Pooh's like, oh, I don't know. Okay.
I mean, I think Kanga has a case here that she should have like co-discovery ship of it, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a long court battle to fight that out.
But Pooh's done a lot of helpful things. I mean, he figured out the riding in the umbrella to rescue Piglet during the flood. He's found the
that's
pole
the next
now.
chapter.
Oh, is it? Oh, you're right, it is. I thought it was a previous chapter. Well, my bad. Look at that. All right, well, we get into chapter 9 then, where Piglet is surrounded by water. It rains and rains. So it begins, it rains and rains and rains, and Piglet laments about being alone in the rain. He'd much rather be with Christopher Robin or Pooh or Rabbit, which, I think that makes sense. If you're in a disaster or a stressful situation, it's always better to be with someone. You don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
Right. So then he talks about how he's the only one without an escape, which is just, I thought this was just a great passage where he said, everybody else is going to be fine. Like, Pooh is dumb, but he seems to always kind of come out all right. Mm-hmm. And, Owl can fly, and, Rabbit's smart. He'll come up with a plan. He'll figure something out. And, Kanga is going to be so concerned about rescuing Roo and keeping him safe that she's going to, accidentally do the right thing and get out of the situation. And Eeyore, man, he doesn't care. Whatever.
He's so miserable anyway.
Right.
Might as well drown.
He's going to take it as it is. He'll probably be happy with it. So I just thought that was really neat. A nice insight into how one of the other characters thinks about everyone else. Mm-hmm. So it's not just us from the outside going, oh, Pooh's kind of dumb. Or, Kanga's obsessed with her kid. Piglet's going, man, no, this Pooh's dumb and Kang is obsessed with her kid. You know?
Well, and he says Owl hasn't exactly got brain, but he knows things.
Right.
He's not very smart, but he happens to know things.
Intelligent, but just not smart. Right.
Yeah. And then he wonders what Christopher Robin would do. Let me do what he would do, not any of my other dumb buddies who are going to accidentally be okay or just be fine with drowning, like Eeyore.
Right.
What a crappy thing to say about poor Eeyore.
Poor Eeyore.
He's miserable anyhow.
But honestly, he probably would be fine with it. He'd complain the whole time, but he would just whatever.
Oh bother! Here I go down to the bottom again.
Yeah. So then, Piglet remembers a story of a man on a desert island who, wrote a note in a bottle and threw it to sea. So he kind of does the same, and then he goes, "Oh, I did all I could do. That's it." He's just gonna
help me. I'm just gonna sit here.
Yeah. So then we cut over to Pooh, and we see what he's been doing during this flood, and he's fallen asleep eating. Sort of poor Pooh. He's got some issues. But he's fallen asleep at his table, and he's so happy about finding the North Pole. He's dreaming, I wonder if there's an East Pole and a West Pole. Can I find one of them next? And he's dreaming about this East Pole, which is snow-covered and inhabited by woozles who nibble at his fur. And then eventually wakes up and realizes that nibbling is water rising in his house. He's all flooded out. So he escapes out of his house onto a branch, and he brings a bunch of honey with him, 10 jars of it. Yeah, a lot of it. And he sits there for 4 days until he's eaten all the honey. And then he's like, oh, what do I do now? And right about that time, Piglet's bottle floats by. He picks it up, sees a note in it, but he can't read it, but he sees a lot of letter P. He at least identifies letters, which I think is probably about a 5-year-old. If Christopher Robin is our protagonist here, right? He's 5, we said. 5-year-olds can generally... but you're on the cusp of reading, and you can.
They know
letters.
all their letters.
Right.
Well, every reader progresses at their own pace.
They do
in their own time.
Exactly.
But
I'm
often
still working on this book, so So he figures out, well, if this note's all about me, it must be important, but I can't read it, so I need to go get Christopher Robin to read it to me because he can read. So he says, Pooh figures things out. He uses some logic. He says, well, if that bottle can float, I bet one of my honey jars can float. So he seals it up, tosses it in the water, gets on it, names it the Floating Bear, and paddles his way to Christopher Robin's house.
Have you ever tried to float on top of a beach ball? This is what I'm imagining.
I do not go near the water because water can kill you. So no, I've never tried to float on a beach ball.
You've never once had fun in a pool?
Pools are death traps. You drown in them. We use it for torture. People will dunk you in water and kill you.
People.
Yes.
I feel like you and I have at least swam in a pool together at some point, and you've dunked me and tried to drown me to death.
I don't believe so. I don't believe I've ever gotten in the water. No, I think the last time I got in I've probably been in the water less than 20 times in my entire life, I would say.
What about around age 11 or 13?
I would not have gotten in the water if I could have helped it, no.
Anyway, maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was one of my many other bullies in life.
Probably was, because if you say pool party to me, we went to a water park my senior year in high school, and I sat at a table and watched everybody's stuff for the duration of the day. I did not enjoy that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were really helpful, though.
I was quite helpful.
Did anybody buy you snacks as a thank you?
I don't think so. But I missed all the fun that everyone else. Anyway, it's a water park.
It wasn't the kind of fun you wanted to have.
It's not the kind of fun I wanted, but anyway.
I was
also mad that we went to Universal Studios instead of the other one. What was the other one? No, we went to Epcot. What was the other one? There was another one that was down there back in the 90s. It wasn't Universal. No, it wasn't Universal. It was the other non-Disney park. Anyway, the other non-Disney park, which is kind of ironic, because now Disney owns them. But the other park down there had Star Tours, and that's where I wanted to go. But I did not get to go to Star Tours. We went to Universal Studios instead, so I got to do like the Back to the Future ride, which I guess that was okay. But I really wanted to do the Star Tours ride. Because you got to think,
know what happened?
This is the mid-'90s. There's no Star Wars. Like, there's no such thing as Star Wars during the mid-'90s. Until, well, I guess the books had started coming out. But the novels, the Timothy Zahn novels. But this is pre-special editions coming back to the theater, pre-prequels.
Yeah.
I mean, now Star Wars is everywhere, but I'll tell you, kids, those were the dark days where you got to watch Star Wars, like maybe when it came on HBO, or maybe it was on TBS, like on Thanksgiving or something. But other than that, there was no Star Wars. There was nothing. There was literally nothing. Anyway.
You know what happened my senior year?
What's that?
So you didn't get to go see Star Tours.
I didn't, no.
Right. You had to watch people's stuff. But
I did.
My senior year began in September 2011. And we didn't go anywhere.
Great year to go places.
Yeah, we didn't go anywhere. We stayed right where we were. I think they might have done like a, hey, we're not going anywhere, but you kids want to go to Hershey Park for the 87th time in your life?
There you go.
You want to go to Hershey?
Nice.
It's like a replacement for the giant trip to Florida that we were going to take, but we're not going to take because definitely terrorists will kill all of us. Definitely. That was my senior year. Ugh.
That's fantastic. Hollywood Studios. I guess Disney owned it. Hollywood Studios is where Star Tours was. Is that
I'm sorry.
right?
I said 2011. I meant 2001.
You meant 2001.
Wow. Yeah, 2001.
Well, I'm very sorry that you didn't get to go anywhere after 2001. Do you want to know where I went after 2001?
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, all right. We'll just let that go. You go to enjoy your trips to Hershey, and I went.
You got to see the world.
Oh yes, I went to fun places. All right,
the beach, right?
The beach. A lot of sand there. Yeah, actually, it wasn't. Actually, it wasn't a lot of sand there. It was like fine talcum powdery stuff. It was terrible. It's not like beach sand. It was miserable. It's like you step on it and it puffs into clouds of dust. It was, Anyway, and then it rained. It rained all through November and December and just turns to fields of mud. Anyway, all right.
Do you remember we had a conversation when I was at college as a freshman? So 2002? Yeah. 2003. When you were like, I have to go. They're going to send me. I'm going to go. I was like, ah.
It would have been late 02, yeah, because by 3 I was gone, yeah. Or early 3.
Yeah. And I wrote about this in my journal. I was like, well, when you come back, bring me some sand. Like, bring me something. Like, bring me part of the Fertile Crescent, like where all humanity began. Like, bring me something. You were like, no, not doing that.
I didn't do it.
No, you didn't do it.
Okay.
And you didn't say you would. You're like,
well, there you go.
It's not worth it, Mare. You don't want that. I'm like,
At least I didn't lie to you and then not bring it, I guess, right?
Yeah. I don't know why I wanted it. And I don't know why you said no. But you did. You were like, no, not doing that. Okay.
You should have reminded me. I could have. Well, no, I couldn't have. I wasn't near any sand the second time. Anyway, so where were we here? Okay, so Pooh is floating to Christopher Robin's house. So while he's there, Owl comes by and he says, "Hey, go." Or anyway, then we cut to Christopher Robin. Owl comes to visit. Christopher Robin says, "Hey, go check on Pooh for me." He goes, comes back, says, "You know what? Pooh's not there." But right about then, Pooh shows up, writing on the jar. Christopher Robin reads the note, sees that Piglet needs help, not Pooh. Sends Owl to then check on Piglet. And I love how this ends. So Owl shows up at Piglet's house and starts chatting with him. And eventually, Owl gets into this big story, and Piglet is falling asleep in his window and almost drowns. And then Milne just goes, "You know what? That big long sentence that Owl was, I'm bored of it too. We're just going to stop here." That was it.
Yep.
That's very much like you're telling us. I have had so many times where I've been, telling a story to put the kids to bed. Not so much anymore because they're older, but when they were a little bit younger. And, make something up, Dad, make something up. And I'm exhausted. I'm just laying there. And, Simon will be like elbowing me as I'm like mumbling into something, falling asleep. And he's like, Dad, what? Your story doesn't make any sense. Wake up. And I'm like, oh, God, dude, I'm done. I can't. I'm sorry. Just go to sleep, kid. So as a father, I really appreciated the way that Milne ended this chapter. It's very, very authentic, shall we say.
I'm laughing because I've done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Where I'm
parents know. I mean, it's just how it happens.
I'm just telling this story. Then suddenly I'm like, and then the dishwasher, it just, and I didn't fix it. And then they got to go to swim class. And Vincent's like, why did she have to do the dishwasher? She's like a dinosaur that I made up. Anyway, yeah, I've done the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So once again, this is not just a sweet children's book. I mean, it is, obviously. But it really is just the parental experience of telling stories to your kids. And here in chapter 9, he's just like, you know what? I got bored of telling Christopher Robin this story, and so I'm just going to cut it off here, too, for you guys as the reader. Done. We're done. It's fantastic. So that brings us into our final chapter, chapter 10, where Christopher Robin gives Pooh a party, and we say goodbye. We start off, Christopher Robin calls Owl over and says, hey, man, go tell everybody we're having a party. Once again, this whole party theme, they have a lot of parties.
I do. I mean, what do you do as a kid?
I was going to say, I suppose as a kid, you're always going to somebody's first birthday or second birthday or third. You go to a lot of parties. I don't even... When was the last time you were at a party? I don't even know.
That wasn't for my kid?
Well, yeah, your kids are younger, though, so I guess you still have. I haven't been personally to a party in... I don't even remember. I mean, I went to a lot of work functions, but that's not exactly a party.
I've been to... Well, I got to skip the last one because I took Mom to the theater. But there have been 3 birthday parties in a month. There was one a little bit ago at a trampoline place, and then another one just this last Sunday at the same trampoline place, different kid. And then there's one Sunday at an indoor playground, which looks really cool for the kids, but I'm constantly going to parties. Not for me, not for any adult stuff. I can't tell you the last time I was at an adult party.
I honestly can't remember the last time. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was. I don't think I'm fun at parties anyway, so I don't think people would invite me.
You're definitely not. There's no way you're fun at parties.
I am not. It's late at night. I just want to go to bed.
Hey, Kyle, else. You want to go swimming? That's a death trap.
It's definitely a death trap. I do not want to go swimming. I'm going to try to force myself to, though, however. So we'll see how that works out. Because once swim season is over, anyway, we're going to see if I can force myself to take the kids to the pool and actually force myself to swim. Do you know what happened the last time I said that, though? Well, do you know what happened? Right. The last time I had access, I had a 24-hour pool, and I was like, you know what? I have a whole year. I'm going to learn how to swim. I'm going to swim. I went twice in a year. Twice. No. I was like, I don't want to swim.
You know, if you do think there's such death traps, you should probably learn to swim.
I can keep myself alive, but
you had to for the army at some point.
I had to. Yeah, I had to a couple of times. I did not enjoy it each and every time.
No.
And I got out as quickly as I could from the pool. So anyway, so Owl is sent off to invite everybody to the party. Pooh is very excited, but he becomes anxious and confused. And he sings, because the party is for him, and he sings the anxious Pooh song, and it's very much, his inner monologue of him trying to tell people about his accomplishments, and people are like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you did. And
or he's telling himself, he's like, this party's for me, and his inner voice is like, for who? What did you do? He's like, but I did a thing. It's like that evil voice in your head.
It really is. I mean, that was just very sad for Pooh, but very relatable again. Like, Pooh, you're an imposter, man. You didn't do anything great. Nobody wants to celebrate you.
I feel like I don't really know if this is true or not, but I feel like older children's literature doesn't often talk about anxiety.
No.
and feeling anxious. Every kid ever on the planet right now has anxiety for good reason.
I mean, I
or
think
we recognize it
nowadays,
better.
I think the children's literature that we grew up with did not,
Yeah.
certainly. But I look at the stuff that my kids read now, and this the plethora of graphic novels that are available to kids that we did not have growing up. That they talk about all this stuff. Like I honestly think it gives kids anxiety. Like that's why my kids are so. They read these books and they don't want to go to school because they're like, oh, school is like this because I've seen all this bad stuff that happens. Because there are all these
Yeah.
autobiographical memoirs that people have written looking back on their school days and the stuff that happened that they didn't like. So then my kids internalize that. Anyway.
Right, but you haven't. Well, I mean, why haven't you turned to banning books and burning them in front of them to, protect them and save them?
Because I don't live in Tennessee. Ooh, shots fired. Sorry, Deep South. Just don't burn books, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, we love you. We love you, Deep South. All right. So then, anyway, so Owl gets to Eeyore, and Eeyore's like, "You're not inviting me. You mean somebody else." And he's like, "No, seriously, we're inviting you." And he's like, "It's Christopher Robin said everybody, Eeyore, come to the party." He's like, nobody wants me there. It's fine. He's like, no, you have to come to the party. Like, all right. And we get to Roo. Roo's very excited. He's like, oh, it's my first party. It's my first party. So we get to the party. Roo is like bouncing around. He's annoying everybody. He's talking to people and drinking milk and just dribbling all over himself. And just,
He's the drunk guy at the party.
He's the drunk.
Pre-gamed before he got there. And
right.
Like, God.
And then Christopher Robin starts to make a speech. And he says, hey, you know why we're all here, right? And I got this great present. Let me find it. And he's looking for it. And this is the point. This is just, I love this. This is probably one of my favorite pieces. Where Eeyore just gets up and he completely hijacks the party. And it is just the best, I call it, like the best honest, drunk, best man speech. Right? Because he's just like, this thing that I did, anybody would have done it. I mean, except for you, Kanga, and except for you, Rabbit. You guys would have done it. And Pooh, you couldn't have done it either. But I did it. I'm great. You guys all terrible. Like, he just rips everybody.
What is he talking about? I'm like, was it the thing where he stuck his tail in the water to save Roo and just sat there?
That's the only thing that we have seen that he's sort of done, quote unquote, to help or heroically. But yeah, it could have been anybody could have done it, but they wouldn't have. They didn't. He did.
You didn't think it was mildly out of character for someone to be like, well, I'm probably not invited for Rio. It's a mistake, but I'll show up anyway. And then to be like, oh, it's for me.
Yeah.
This is all about me.
Let me take this over.
What?
It was a little, I think it's showing us Eeyore's kind of personality. I think his like downerism or depression or whatever you call it, but I think it is sort of a self-centeredness, because like he kind of uses that, he guilts you into making it about him, by being so like, oh, you guys don't want me there. It's fine. Yeah. Don't worry about me, guys. It's fine. Like a lot of times when people do that, they're really like, they want
they're fishing for something.
Right, they're fishing. And that's, I think, what Eeyore does a lot. Like, I mean, let's go back to the birthday, right? Oh, it's my birthday. Don't you see my presents, Pooh? Come on, man. You forgot. Is what he's saying.
Eeyore's toxic.
He kind of is.
He gets mad at Roo for hiccuping. He's like, as I was saying.
Well, he got interrupted in his big speech. This is his big speech. Like, this is his party, right?
It's just a hiccup from a baby.
Yeah. So eventually, Christopher Robin finds the gift, gives it to Pooh. Party ends. We cut back to the real Christopher Robin hearing the story, and then he says, "Well, what did he get?" Well, he got a nice pencil case. It's got all his stuff in it. He's like, "Was it as nice as my pencil case?" It's just the same. And we finish the way we started with Christopher Robin dragging Pooh bump up the stairs, and oddly asking if you're going to come watch him have a bath, which I don't know.
No, it's his dad. He's like,
I guess. I don't know. I found it. I mean, I
Really
suppose
5?
in the 1920s, if fathers weren't involved in bedtime, I am more than involved in bedtime. And so nobody asks me, hey, Dad, do you want to come watch me have a bath? It's more, let me drag you into the shower, throw you into the tub, spray you down, and get you out. And you're screaming at me the entire time. There, you've had your bath.
I think he was just like saying like, oh, I understand. Like, this is the end. So, story's over. Are you going to come see? I mean, maybe it's a British way of saying coming to see me have my bath versus like, it's bath time now, right? Because the story's over. We're not going to do that anymore. That's what I took it as.
Yeah, that's kind of British passive aggressive, I suppose. Right?
You certainly can't I can't let my 5-year-old take a bath on his own.
Oh,
Nothing
see,
will
we
be
can.
clean
We
and
love it.
everything will be wet.
When you get to that point where you can just say to them, hey, go take a shower, go get cleaned up, and they just do it. Oh, it's so nice. Nice.
It's at least better that he can actually wash himself. He can't be alone in the tub. But I can just be like, we call it clean machine. I'm like, all right, go ahead, clean machine. And he can just rub his whole body. And I don't have to do anything.
You're only a step away from just going, dude, just go do it yourself.
Close.
Yeah,
well,
we only have to fill the tub for one. The other two can shower themselves, but still got to set the tub up. But then he can do his own thing. And we're like,
yeah.
All right, man.
I still have one left, though. The baby.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's your own fault. I stopped. I'm done. No more.
I have fewer children than you.
You do. This is true. All right. Well, that takes us to the end of the chapters that we are talking about today, and that takes us to the end of Winnie the Pooh. So, the next episode you'll get, we'll do a little wrap-up episode of the book, kind of get our final thoughts, get everything out on Winnie the Pooh that we can. So if you have any thoughts, ideas, comments about Winnie the Pooh, send us an email, cystpod@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on social media at cystpod on Twitter, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or Metabook, or whatever the crap Zuckerberg's doing now. And then you can also leave us a rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. Let us know how we're doing, or give us a star rating review over on Spotify, or go over to YouTube and like and subscribe to the channel. Just search for Classics You Slept Through on YouTube. Or you can leave us a comment underneath this video, right below, comment section. We have those. You can do all those things to get in touch with us, and we'll talk next time about the book, and we will reveal our next book that we will be reading very excitedly.
It's my turn to pick.
It is.
Right?
Yeah. And as we haven't really been highlighting it per se, but we do live reads on Reddit. So, take a look and watch our social medias. We'll announce when we're live reading bits on Reddit. I usually read my chapters over there. And we did chapters 6 and 7. We alternated, did a live read of that over on Reddit. Fun stuff like that. We did some stuff over Christmas time that you can look at. We read some Dickens at Christmas. Other fun stuff that we do from time to time live.
That's my favorite. I like the live reads.
Those are good. We should probably schedule them more regularly. I don't know. And just find random stuff to read. Maybe not even stuff that we're doing on pod.
Yeah.
Just as little bonuses for folks if they want to come hang out and do some live reads. All right. Anything else in this section before we wrap this episode?
No. I'm excited to do the wrap because I really I wasn't quite sure when you suggested this because of the Disneyfied version, and I was too inundated with Pooh in my young life. I had curtains, and Mom really liked Pooh.
Yeah, well,
she made. I
think it's sweet. I mean, it's right? It's a good thing. Yeah,
but it's really lovely. I really like it.
Yeah, I definitely did as well. I honestly don't know if I've ever actually read the book before this. I mean, that I can remember. I mean, obviously as a child, I think I had it read to me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't think I ever read it until now, basically.
I'm gonna post on social media copies of your original
Well, they're at mom and
Milne
dad's. Yeah.
books and yeah, I took a bunch of pictures when I was there last week meeting their
Yeah.
dog,
Yeah.
who is a delight. Mom,
Yeah, the kids are jonesing to go find it, meet them.
she's the sweetest. I mean, our parents own a pit bull, which is just funny to think about. Like old people usually adopt like Bichons and like little tiny dogs in their old age. Our parents got a little beefy old lady pit bull, but she's so sweet. Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, when I was over there, I took a bunch of pictures and like clearly one of us had drawn in all of them. I don't think it was just me.
No, I think I had done it as a kid, and then you like
You like just circled
double
pictures.
destroyed stuff. Like then you scribbled
Yeah, and
over
they're
what I
well
wrote.
worn.
They
They're
are.
well worn, so somebody must have.
And one of them was
read
printed
them.
upside down.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, the cover was printed
Backwards
upside down.
or upside down, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Anyway, all right, so that kind of wraps this up. It's the 100th day of school. I guess that's a thing. So enjoy your certificate for making it through 100 days of school.
100 Days Smarter.
I suppose. All right, that's it. Welcome to Class